Right, good. So I'm going to begin with the mystery of design. And this is going to be a very critical component because when I speak to even people who, I'll call them let me call them atheists, but that's how we know them, atheists. I have had sessions with such people who completely don't believe in God, don't believe in created order, and think that we just happened through a big bang, and the big bang was from nowhere, and just from nothingness to something, and we've been evolving and all that. So there's a lot of conversations I've had with such space, and the way to look at it is, even sometimes you don't have to think, you don't have kind of to believe there's God first, all those things. Though I'm a believer and I like using the biblical truth, but when you're speaking to people who are completely on the other world, so if we tell God, they say, don't mention God, tell me how to discover my purpose without that. And I still manage to do that. It's quite profound because the nature and the creation itself already is a testimony around purpose. So you don't necessarily to have to believe God. The only thing is that when actually you believe God now and you have got the biblical principles and the biblical truth, it becomes more easier to justify many things. It kind of answers all the dots that probably were doubtful in our lives. So with that, then I like explaining something around the mystery of design. I'll just share one or two slides just to put a point home. So there's something called the mystery of design. Now, when you look at the whole creation itself, whether the physical reality or the, what sometimes we call the microscopic world and all that, or the quantum world, there's some specific order that is in such creation that actually pushes an agenda around intelligibility. So the universe itself is intelligible, meaning you can study it. That's why we can go and do studies. You can do scholarly studies around the universe, study the galaxy, the stars, and all that, because it's something that is not intelligible, then it means you cannot study it. So one of the basic things in a very layman thing is actually the flowers. And I know some of us, this is something that probably have more authority over in terms of the study of plants and the flowers and insects and many things there. But when you study even just the natural, even just by observation, you'll find there are some flowers that only attract specific insects. And therefore you won't find them anywhere else. So if you have that sunflower, you may find there are some specific insects that just are out there. And that is like their world, complete world. It's an ecosystem by itself. And they are not attracted elsewhere. And that's actually what we see. If you go to the microbiome level, actually the mystery is much more profound. They are complete, neatly organized order of microorganisms at the microbiome level that only thrive within that ecosystem. So in some insects, we'll probably be attracted to yellow, others will be attracted to red, others will be attracted to whichever purple, and it's kind of natural. It's that their habitation. And that's how they thrive and be the best of themselves to balance. Now, that, of course, is part of a wider concept in especially the quantum world, the micro world, which we usually say it's more organized than the physical world, about the relationship of things. What it says, of course, is that the whole created matter, rocks, trees, birds, us, we kind of have an entanglement. It's kind of, we're entangled somewhere. That means we are joining the hip. There's a certain interdependency of everything. And that's why right now, when you talk about this like climatic change and all that, it's a reaction. It's kind of a reset or a manifestation of a certain order that's been disrupted, that was supposed to be a created order. But because of human practices and all that, we have tampered with the microbiome, we have tampered with the nature around us, and therefore it has actually to be unbearable for us to coexist. In short, the key word is the world and created order and even life is within an ecosystem. Now, that word ecosystem, of course, means there is interdependency, there is what we call that interreliance or kind of interdependency of each of the organisms, whether it's human beings, animals, trees. So even by that natural nature of existence, there is entanglement. And it's more explained more when you get into the quantum physics and that quantum model. It's quite scientifically proven. So with that, it means, of course, that we live in an ecosystem. And I want us just to have that understanding. The whole thing in created order only exists within an ecosystem where there's dependency on each other. That means your life now, if you press now, if a store of flower is by itself has an ecosystem, just a flower, and not just a flower, a specific type of a flower. Maybe on a flower event that has a specific scent. That scent is something it's emitting into the biosphere that is actually contributing to livelihood of other existence of other things. Now, the question I always ask is, if a flower which is not a living thing, but we all kind of can study it and can be able to see that it's an ecosystem by itself, how much more of a living being, it could be an animal, but now take it further, a living being that has a soul, has a spirit, and has a body. That's a human being. We know very well we are one of the complex species in terms of even studying the things that are living. So if at all something that is just like a tree, a flower, I'm not even talking about tree, just the flower alone. If you start studying the roots and the way they hold on the ground and the clasp and the things that happens there, it's quite more, it will kind of blast your mind in terms of the mystery of that creation. So remember, I've not mentioned God anywhere. So if just such as kind of an observation kind of proves something, there's an ecosystem, there's a livelihood being attached somewhere, how much more of a human being then? Who we know he has the dominion, of course, now when you take the biblical truth, we have the dominion, we have the intelligence, we have the soul, we have the spirit, all those things. How much more then will be having a life without a specific purpose? And that's the big question around trying to get into this journey. There must be something that even a human being, there's a general humanity, but even at an individual level, there's a whole ecosystem around yourself. And that's why sometimes I say I need to handle human a bit more carefully, because when I handle Abel, I should have the thought, I'm not dealing with Abel, I'm dealing with an ecosystem. And you can go and try to observe this. I'm dealing with the whole ecosystem, because behind Abel, there's a whole entanglement of other things that Abel is holding together, such that if I mess with Abel, I'm messing with a complete, I'm causing imbalance in a whole system, in his family, in his community, where he comes from, people he relates with, and all that. And as simple as that. So if somebody thwarted the livelihood of Nelson Mandela, for example, and he lived not kind of to reach his realization of his calling and convictions, what would have happened? We'll be talking a different story. Probably South Africa could have been apartheid, or somebody else probably could have done it, but maybe using a different route. So when you look at that, even in matters of relationships, matters of how we relate with each other, there's a way you start handling it in a certain specific, because you start to discover, I'm dealing with an ecosystem. I'm dealing with a well-connected part of a bigger thing. That's purely what an ecosystem is. And this dependency within itself. Now, to even think about it further, what I've been trying to say, I'm using creations and I'm using just things that we know, so that just I drive a certain point home. Now, why do we have eyes in front? I don't have people here from the health sector and all that, so you are more authority than me here. Why do we have eyes in front? I know sometimes we never question. I think I talked about that last time. The challenge with our generation is that we never question anything. So whatever we just live naturally without questioning, and that's somehow we miss out some of the things that should be giving us intelligence. Now, when I look at the human being, and you compare with other species that has eyes in front, including things like crocodile, though it's a bit on top here, and cat family, their eyes are in front, there's one thing in common. All those species that has eyes in front, there's something they share. At least majority of them, they are predatory. They are purely predatory, meaning they have dominion, because a predatory means it's hunting, it's on the hunt. And you look at the ones that have eyes on the side, they are more play, they are victims. Okay, they are victims. So a cow, eyes are somewhere here, a goat, a sheep, most of them, the eyes are here. And you find such animals, they are always on the guard, because that's why the eyes are here, so that they can actually be able to turn and see the enemy across like 180 degrees. They can be able to quickly switch and see an enemy, and they run away for their life. But a cat or a lion or a leopard, they will just be looking at one side. It's like a one linear thing. They are only looking forward. And when you start doing this, you can see some intelligible intent on why that is the case. Because when a predator, you are looking to attack and you're looking to dominate. Now, if you relate that to the biblical order in terms of Genesis 1, you'll find why. So even science justify the biblical truth of creation. Because man was told, go and dominate. No other animals. Man specifically was given a dominion aspect. But inherent even in his own creation, the dominion features were also put inside him. So we have a foresight, we can see, and not just the foresight of the naked eyes, we can also use the other eyes in terms of we can imagine things. I think that's one of the differentiating factor between us and animals, because we can imagine, we can think about tomorrow. I doubt whether a dog is trying to be worried about next year. There's going to be this, there's going to be erection. Looking ahead. We are the only ones who can have that capacity to be able to see, and that's how we plan, and that gives us a certain foresight, which then help us live with an intention. And again, when you start reasoning that, you're getting back to purpose. So you can be able to live with an intent. So we are predatory by nature. That's now if you explain it from the animal part. We are predatory. On biblical truth, we have a dominion. We have rulership that we have to dispense. That's where we are looking. We have to have a focus towards something. Now, when you look at that, it's purely kind of painting an image around, again, having a deliberate intention or kind of a purpose. The other thing, I'm just trying to explore things that are just close to us, just to anticipate and see how they relate to us. Look at even your herds themselves, okay? I know we can now maybe match with these other, apes and all that. Look at the herds. The herds themselves, you have a grip, that grip, which is actually to hold. You can grab. Because of the concept of dominion, again, you can't dominate where you can't attack. And for you to attack, you need to have a grip. That's why when you look at, again, those animals that have the eyes in front, there's something that they also practice a lot. They use their, let's say if it's a lion or a leopard, even a cat, they will use their front legs. For them, they don't have that, of course. They have the front legs. They'll use the fore lips or the forelegs to actually attack. That's why you find they can grip like this. They can kind of grab something. A cat, when it's fighting a dog, they actually slap. It's an element of still a same thing. And we share a lot. So you have the hands. You can weaponize that hard anyway, but now we are more advanced. So you can use that hard to create things, and you can use those things actually to defend yourself and create a gun and shoot people and to throw things. And also, you have a way in which you can hold something. So when you look at all these things, there's something they are trying to speak. Nature speaks itself. So whether you believe in created order in terms of God and all that, the very observation of nature, and this is just a sample, you have so many things you can talk about, they are a testament of a certain intent hidden within the human being. And I think in lack of so many words, that's actually the point I wanted to say, that the biblical truth that tell us that we are fearfully and wonderfully made, it is very real. It's very real. We've not even talked about now the higher dimensions of the mind, the spirit and all those other things, but just the physical observation is a testament. There's something a bit bigger that is a higher cause, a transcending cause that we are created for. That just to live use the Maslow hierarchy of need and, afford a living, pay our bills. There's something transcending beyond that. So one of the other things is, of course, that higher dimension of the mind, the power of the imagination, the spiritual bandwidth, that we can actually create things from our mind. We can imagine reality, and that gives us potential to transform, even potential for creation. Why we can create things, just like the way God did, is because of that power. So then number two, of course, we have a very mystery around the language and the learning. You can imagine if you can never learn something, then it is very hard for you to adapt. So the reason why we adapted even during COVID, because we learned that you don't need to cough, you need to wash your hands. It looks so basic, but it's actually by that nature that literally we are able to adjust and adapt within environments that are even harsh, like COVID and all that. Of course, ability to change and transform, it's applicable. Just imagine that human being cannot change. You cannot evolve. Remember, I talked about being a human being, the being part. That being part is what gives us potential to change and transform. You can imagine if you are born and you cannot change. So if you are bad, you are bad. Just imagine how that world will be. That if you are a thief, you are a thief, and you can never change. If you are unforgiving, you are unforgiving. I want you to just figure out how that means, what that means. It's kind of a disaster by itself, that you can have, somebody who will never change. The reason why we forgive each other, the reason why somebody offended you and tomorrow you can reconcile, is because you believe that they can change. And that's a very powerful mystery that is hidden in us. So that's the overview I wanted to have first as a beginning, as a starter conversation, so that we have a certain conception that we actually have all the evidence and intent to be purposeful, to have something that is beyond just our living, our work, our study, and the way things that keep us busy. So with that, then I'll give you some few principles, and then I'll pause a bit just to have a quick reflections, and then later I'll talk about the Ikigai model. Now, just some of the mindset then that should make us succeed in this journey, which is very helpful. One is that, of course, you're a product of design. So we need to have that. And I want you to at least have that as we continue the journey, that you're a product of a design. And a product of design means, of course, if I have this cup here, it's a product of a design. It has a handle, and it's for a reason. That handle is because I need to grip it. I need to hold it. The reason why it is in that spherical shape is because I want to contain something inside. So if you have that belief, then it will make your work very easy, because part of the struggle you have is the mindset transformation part of this journey. So life is not meant for survival. Because you are a product of design, the design is not for survival. Design is for a purposeful impact. It's not just a mere living and live life, retire, go back, and you're out of you are in extinction of the universe. And then other generations come. It's not that. That you are all part of a bigger eternal purpose that we have handing over to new generations as we continue. So the journey here is a journey of becoming and not a journey of doing. I think I talked about that last time, but it's a good idea to be able to have that. Then, of course, to be able to succeed in this journey, it will be a very prayerful convictions. You've kind of to allow yourself to question things and to lay a foundation for very strong convictions around your life. And I'll be talking about convictions next Saturday. We'll actually have more topic around just convictions. How do you kind of sediment and establish life convictions? We all know, and when you hear people talking about we have bad leadership, bad governance in the business, you hear people saying we have leaders who don't have a conviction. If you look at all those people who have done great things in life, they had very strong convictions on things that they were studying for. So if I'm to come and ask, Susan, what is your conviction? You may find that we struggle a bit in terms of what are these convictions. Myself, it took time to sediment. At least I have 5 core foundations of my convictions, and I'll be sharing with them along the way. 5 very strong convictions that you can almost take those convictions like the foundation of my life. Everything else is built on top of that. So if you question why I do what I do, there's a conviction behind me, which are so strong, and most of them, of course, are more biblically driven. But those convictions, I have built my life on top of it. And the beauty of building convictions from a truth from, let's say, Bible, is because they are not changing. They don't change. They kind of are very constant. It's different if you lay a foundation on convictions that are from human philosophy. So some of those rules and the laws and all that somehow have evolved. So if your conviction was founded on just a human doctrine, what happened is, if that doctrine is challenged one day, like some of the philosophy, some rules that we keep on revolving, you also kind of get rules. And that, of course, become a bit of a very rules living. Then the whole journey is about mindset, just trying to change the way you think and the way you see and your worldview towards the universe. So another perception here, which of course we have to prepare ourselves, is that purpose has no retirement. If you're doing something that is short-lived, where you say, I will do it up to 60 years, that's a retirement, I think you're shortchanging the essence of life. Because God gives you life. God doesn't give you working space where you say, I'll work up to 60. What do I say? Purpose has no retirement by itself because it is attached to the whole life. Your breath and the heartbeat, until the breath and the heartbeat exist in you, the fulfillment of the purpose should be evident till death. So when you're discovering and you discover the things that you're holding to are more things that you're doing temporarily, then that's almost a sure this is not the purpose. Probably this I'm doing it for survival or for other things. But purpose, what it does, it is the entire life, and the only thing that can happen is you can change faces. Nelson Mandela, even if, yes, he had his purpose throughout his life, but there's a way in which they were in different faces, meaning he was pursuing the same purpose in prison, and even off the prison, continued fighting for the same, against the apartheid, when he was the president for only one term. And even later, the whole life by itself, there is one constant. So that's something that you need to check in your life. What is that one constant that is not dependent on because you're employed somewhere or you're in a certain business? It's not dependent. So whether you're in that business or elsewhere, there's one thing that is so consistent and constant in whatever you do. That's the only way you can say, now, yes, I'm clear with my pursuit for life. So that's become the purpose again. Everything you need to dominate is still hardwired with you. You don't have to look at it anywhere else. And this is where I connect with the issue of learning. Meaning that what you need is already inside you. The only thing you do, of course, is to discover it and kind of unleash it. However, for you to be able to execute it more in an excellent way, then we require training. This is where we went wrong in our education. Because we went to get educated first, then now we are trying to kind of align our life later. And that's a kind of a problem. But imagine if, first of all, the initial training was more to discover ourselves. We study ourselves, not study about the history, Neanderthal man, Homo sapien, the science and all that. Assume we spend more time studying ourselves in terms of the mystery in us and the purpose in us. And maybe by teenage, we kind of make sure we have understood our course for life. And then now I'm looking at what kind of training do I require? I think life will be more purposeful. When I started discovering myself, and kind of it took me almost 5 years that time, late 2000, 2007, 2010 there. When immediately I got a clarity around myself, I changed even the things that I was thinking I would study. So there are things that I had put myself, after campus, I'll go do this, go do this. Somehow I changed that order. That even the choice of the short courses, postgraduate programs that I've done and all that, they are very targeted like now, because I know whatever I'm studying now, if it does not help me transform people's mindset, because that's where my garage is, I'm not doing it. So I don't go and do that economics just because in economics, and I know, just to go and do consultancy in finance, no. So there's a way everything changed in terms of what my choice of study. So if at all we began with ourselves, it's very easy to know what kind of skill set do I require to help me. Like now I'm doing psychoanalytics, because why? I'm dealing with human being, I'm dealing with psychology, I'm dealing with the human being in terms of their mind and their whole self. I need to understand how it works. So as much as I have other this background around data science and all that, which is also helpful because it helped me analyze things very fast and pick patterns and all that, but I need to understand the psyche in terms of the mind. So the choice of the study, the choice of the investment you're making, they are very much aligned to actually who you're supposed to impact and how you're going to impact them. The other thing, of course, is remember I used the word redemptive last time, redemptive purpose. Now, purpose by itself is like the assurance, that you go and take an insurance cover to kind of safeguard your life, that in case you get an accident or in case you get sick, the insurance goes and take care of that bill. Now, if there's something that will give you an assurance, leave alone all those insurances that we know, is actually the purpose. Why? Is because of one thing. This purpose, you don't give it to yourself. You never gave it to yourself. Purpose is given to you. So our Creator had put purpose in us. Now, by just that intent he had in us is the reason why he will protect you. And this is where now I usually kind of bring that aspect of sometimes where we fear for life. Sometimes I fear moving to go and do my purpose because how will I sustain my livelihood? How will I sustain my bills? How will I educate my children? Those fears. If for sure this is the purpose, even if it allows you to prison, because purpose is not something that is very comfortable. Sometimes it's not what you love. And we'll be talking about the ikigai in a short while. It's not necessarily what you love. No, you don't have to go. It's very disruptive. I don't want people to go and do what they love. That may not be the purpose. If I be biblically, no biblical character did what they loved. Moses didn't love per se, taking the children of Israel. In fact, he struggled because of his incompetency of what he thought. Elijah, the same, he was running away. Gideon was feeding them from an inferior tribe. I mean, I can't even dare to go and fight these people. Everybody, I mean, they were dealing with situations that were not comfortable. It's not a passion issue. Purpose is not a passion issue. Because you don't give yourself that purpose. You only discover it. And what it does then, it galvanizes. And I have seen this in my own life. Anytime I try to drift away from my purpose, and I'm sometimes succeeding, and sometimes you unakuwa mwasi too, and then you find yourself doing chasing other things. And some things which will appear like they are succeeding. There's sometimes where I get vulnerable. Those things will actually completely, they will succeed somehow doing well and all that. At a point, they will kind of be shaken and I'm kind of taken back to what I'm supposed to be doing. And you discover when you do what you're supposed to do, God protects you. That's where the word galvanize comes. God galvanizes, it's like shield. It's kind of God shield you to be protected. And this is very consistent to even why we say we are ambassadors of God. We are here, God, we know we came from heaven and we are here on earth to pursue an agenda of God on behalf of him here on earth. So we are actually propagating we are dispensing his cause here in the universe. By just that, he will protect you. He will make sure your life is protected in a certain way, in a divine way, so that you accomplish what he wanted you to accomplish. But when you are off that grid, when you're off grid, you are already prone to attack. You are actually very unsafe. You'll be very insecure if you are not in that line. So I usually tell people, if you want to be safe, where you don't have to take an insurance cover about all those things, if you want to enjoy life and where you're not worrying about things, actually align yourself to your purpose, because God will mobilize all the heavenly hosts to make sure you discover, you dispense that. And that's so much fulfillment that you derive in your life. You're not worried. I'm not worried about what I'm going to, where my school fees will come in. I have nobody who have guaranteed me a paycheck, and all those things. But I can assure you, I am not worried at all. Because I'm doing something is not my own. It's not something I just decided to go and do because I wanted to do this because I want to be, to appeal to life. No, it's an act of obedience. By just that alone, God has his whole intention in what I do. And you try to mobilize things, connections and all that, and you get deals, and still life continue, and you still get to have that fulfillment in your life. So I want to pause there first before I pick the other thing. So my focus in that session was around affirming the concept of design. that we are a product of design, and the whole, if you look at yourself and your body, your life, and the things around you, you should see patterns that should be drawing you to purpose. Of course, I'm going to take you some 9 pointers on how you can start journaling your life now in terms of specific discovery pointers. So I want to pause there just to pick some quick reflections, and then we move on into the next segment. So maybe any question or any comment so that we make it engaging. So I'd like to get an experience feedback from you in terms of the things I've shared. What comes to your mind, as raw as it is? I would like us to share as part of also co-creating and learning from peer to peer through our own experiences. So
I'd like
Anne.
Yeah,
go ahead, Anne.
I'd be glad to share. I think, from the word go, the minute you mentioned about everyone being an ecosystem in themselves, that is so profound, because it means, like, straight away I look at everyone, my children, my husband, everyone I engage, and therefore, like you said, the care with which we should then engage everyone, and the value with which we should give everyone, because they in themselves are an ecosystem that, for me, that's really profound. Thanks for mentioning that. I think that
Awesome.
will be ringing in my head throughout this week. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And just to affirm it, this is the reason why I say, when I see people having mental health, committing suicide, those things, it always tells you they are already drifted from the purpose. Because if you actually get that convictions around the course of life you're supposed to implement or execute, I have to take care of my life very carefully. I have to take care of what I eat. Why? I have a cause. I have a very strong cause, and later I'll be sharing my purpose map. I have a very ambitious, cause. I've been understood myself. So I can't afford. In fact, can I tell you, even when I'm driving, and I usually make jokes with my wife that when I'm married, of course, I no longer drive at high speeds, and I'm sure it's very common. I'm sure Abel will support me here, because there's how you start remembering. Wait a minute, I have something that I owe the world like a debt. It's like a debt. Leave alone my own family, leave alone my children. I owe creation. I'm an ecosystem. I owe creation a debt to pay. So by just that thought, I won't just go in there and indulge on things, take drugs, I don't know those. I will handle my life a bit more carefully. I will not just settle for any relationship. No, I want to pick a relationship that will help me execute. That's how serious it becomes. I mean, everything is shaped because you live intentionally. Thank you so much, Anne, for that. Anybody else want to share? Susan? What comes to your mind?
What I'm trying to see is that sometimes we force ourselves to do what we do, but definitely it's not what you are meant to be. Because you find yourself being a doctor, but as you continue in treating the patients, you discover that am I a teacher, or am I a preacher, or am I something else? So I'm trying to see that we run away from what we are supposed to be. And sometimes you have a calling, but you don't discover it because it is stuck in your head that I went to medical school and I'm a doctor, and I should stick to that. So this it's really opening up, because even as we continue, we discover that you have to go in a different direction, including what you say, the courses you take. And even if there are small courses, they should be directed to the purpose that you really, really feel that it's what you're convicted to do. Yeah, that's
awesome.
Yeah,
awesome. Thank you, Susan. That's profound, and it's very normal. What you're saying is very real and very normal in terms of response. And I think it will come out clear in the Ikigai. Once we do the Ikigai, it will come out very clear around that. It's a dilemma there. It's a dilemma. So thank you so much, Susan. I want to know everybody, because I want us just to have a quick engagement so that we can also pick from each other. We don't have a monopoly of learning. So Abel, you want to share from the boy child?
Boy child right now is under attack. So what I just looked at,
that's a digit. Yes.
Now. I just and I like this English. This is called the analog or the storyline. about the animal kingdom and the way they're designed, the way everything is designed for a particular purpose and the way everything coexists with one another. I'm still catching up because I'm just wondering, are there people meant to be leaders and others to be followers and others to build up somebody's company, or are we all called to just have everybody having? So that's why I am also in between, because there's some people you work with, yeah, they focus and know what to do, and others who are designed to build others. So I'm wondering, not everybody is called to lead, because there's some people who lead and they mess up everything. So
you're very true. You're very right. Thank you. Yes. All right. Thank you, Abiel. You're very right. You're very right, and I appreciate that you agree with me that the boy child is endangered. I was speaking to some boy child yesterday in a forum, many of them, and it's quite a worry. And because again, I think with the boy child also lost a focus. So yes, it's true. Now, when I am especially coaching people around the purpose and I'm speaking to people who are already employed, they are working, I usually tell them, let me tell you, purpose does not mean that you go out and defect from your employer and start going to do other things and start a business. Not necessarily. That's not my advice. Purpose means that where you are, you will now be intentional on your role. So you might be a manager in a bank, you might be a manager in an organization. It doesn't mean when you discover your purpose, now you will have to run away. No, and I want to support what Abel is saying. Because when you discover yourself and you look at where you are, you find actually these opportunities to exploit. And I'll give you my own example. This space around training, coaching, leadership is something I started when I was working in the bank. And I remember what I did. I could observe that we were spending millions of money. And there was a one time actually, remember around 2009, we had sent some senior leadership to UK in the London Business School. And we were sending them for a leadership program. 2 good weeks. The bank spent, I think, almost 30-something million to invest on leadership. And we thought when they come, we are going to see transformation. They are going to lead the bank very well. And, we were so waiting. Now, these guys came back. When they came back, it's like you expected people to come and start, kind of driving and catapulting the organization to another direction. We could not see any significant change. I mean, we were struggling with the same issues. Some even of them actually, it's like they became even more bad managers, kind of a thing. I could not see any visible thing in them in terms of, why did we send you to London? We expect when you come here, you come and, fast track our growth and all that. And I was so annoyed. And what I did, and I was not a very senior person, I was just in the mid-management level at that time. What I did was, because of that discontent, I actually challenged myself. Wait a minute. I will research and I will see how to run effective leadership program. Now, I took 1 year break, kind of a 1 year where I was busy studying models, and I studied almost all models of leadership frameworks that exist in the universe. When I studied, I was studying trying to pick the gap. I was trying to get the need, what Abel was talking about, the gap. So as I was doing that, I discovered some few things that actually other programs are not offering. And I created my own unique leadership program. By 2010, I launched it where I was my own managers, because I was a human resource business partner, my own people. That means where I'm working without designing. I actually piloted a leadership. It's called Jet Leader. I do it even currently in many companies. I run that leadership. It's called the Jet Leader. The jet, just like the plane, the jet engine. So I have a way in which I crafted it, and now it looks like a jet. You become a jet. So I crafted my leadership program. Today, it's a signature program. I didn't have to resign. But you know what? I became a better manager. And because I discovered myself, I started that journey of transformation of the mind and all that, and using some psychological models just to make sure people transform. I didn't have to resign. So to answer your question is, you don't necessarily have to change. Yes, there are those who remain in employment, but they will have more awareness of opportunities they can exploit than if they didn't discover. Because currently people will do things as a routine. They follow the SOPs, start operating procedures just because they are manuals, operating manuals and all that, without really questioning on the value they are contributing into. So it makes you more better productive, much more engaging and all that. Thank you so much for opening that, Aber. Beatrice?
Okay. Yeah, thank you very much, Gabriel. I'm as a mentor, I'm just trying to, think of how I can integrate such, because it's very relevant, and I think if it's integrated just from right into the very young or that young age, because if I went through such a training immediately after my graduation, probably I would be somebody very different. So I'm just trying to, wonder how I can integrate this into, into my mentorship lessons, because it's not an easy thing to actually explain to people. This week, a colleague of mine came to my office to say, like he's not renewing his contract, and he told me exactly something that I found very relevant from the introduction you gave us last Saturday, because he said, I had defined a goal of my life. When I reached 50, I had already decided that at 50, I'm no longer going to be employed. Like, I'm not going to be on somebody's payroll. And you see, it got so many of us, by surprise, because this guy is the only person right now who has written so many successful proposals. He has a lot of money. He has employed like 50 people for the last 1 year. His unit, everybody is like on track. He has a very good team. So he told me for him, that was his desire. He has achieved what he desired to have achieved by 50. Now he has another milestone. He has a goal for the next 2-3 years before he transits to something else. So actually, for me, I understood him very, very well. And basically, that is from the introduction you gave us on Saturday. So anyway, by the time maybe we finish the course, I'll be able to pick up a few things to integrate into my mentorship. Sure. But this is very, very exciting. And I also feel maybe I'll be a better person also to do what I do. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Beatrice. That's a very good testimony in terms of a practical use case in the workplace. Yeah, and it's very true. Have you ever asked yourself why Nelson Mandela only served 1 term? Just imagine somebody who fought for liberation. He had all the rights to be like we have some few presidents around who they are not going anywhere until maybe they're incapacitated. Nelson Mandela had that chance because he could say, I'm a father to this nation, I have brought in liberation and freedom and all that, and therefore I'm your president for life. And people who are purposeful, they are very clear when the season expires. And that's why Jesus only served 33 years only. Purpose living is not about how long you live, that you live 100 years. It can be 100 years with no intention. You can actually live 5 years quality life, quality impact, just 5 years, and you have accomplished. So when you talk about the purpose, those are some of the things actually you start encountering in terms of the quality of life itself, meaning that you're living for a cause. And when that phase closes, the way in which you transition to others, but still related to the same thing, but in a different interface. So one day you're in a prison, you're still doing it. That time you're a president like Mandela, you're still doing it. So you can change faces, but you're still advancing the same agenda. So that's very profound, Beatrice. And I think that's somebody probably we need to also profile. I like journaling case studies. That could be somebody we can interrogate and interview and see what drives him and all that. So thank you so much. If I left out anybody, I think Trufosa have fallen from the network. It's okay. So let me pick some few thoughts on now something we call Ikigai. This could be something I know most of you have met somewhere. I'm sure most of us are readers of books. So you may have seen this. Maybe just to check, how many have used the Ikigai, have kind of used the Ikigai model in the past, or you have read it somewhere? It's a Japanese thing, so it's kind of a common thing. Anybody who may have seen it, just to see the depth I need to use to explain it?
I think I've seen it a number of times.
Ah, okay.
I've seen it on the Ikigai office. You know, they have their principles on their wall.
Okay, yeah.
Same here.
Yes.
I've seen it, but I've never had someone to explain to me about it.
All right. All right. Thank you. So I'm going to, I use it as just an illustrator, and I'll give a caution. I will use it as a dilemma, not as an answer. So you'll pick my direction to be a bit different, but I'll use it a very nice model just to describe how the dilemma we are in and where people are locked into. And from the Ikigai, of course, the Ikigai is actually means purpose or meaning or intent and all that. The Ikigai itself has 4 quadrants, and these 4 quadrants is what you love doing. Now, why I'm calling this dilemma is because this can put you into a very bad shape sometimes. Now, when you say something you love, it means it's something you are passionate about. So you love doing it. Now, I want to pose a question there. Is everything you love purposeful? Is everything you love purposeful? No. Because I can love nyama choma, but probably it might give me even diseases. So love can be very selfish. What you say, what I love, can also, and I will share with you later differences between purpose and passion, because that's where sometimes I find, and motivational speakers, and I always say I'm not one, motivational speakers can be very dangerous because they will fire you. What do you love? Go and do it. But sometimes what you love, it's your selfish issue. I may love molesting people. I mean, so I go and do it. I may love kukanyaga watu, and maybe it will give me pressure. So something that give you pressure, you say you love, but it doesn't mean that something is impactful. So the way to validate passion is to see to whom it's generating value to, because purpose is not for you. This cup is not for itself. So it's not selfish. Now look at what you are good at also. Now what you are good at is what you call potential. So tumeanza na passion. Now let's go to the potential. Now the potential, mostly you find what you love, sometimes you have a potential for. Now the dangerous thing with the potential is hidden ability that is potent, meaning it is not yet actuated or activated, but has the ability to. Now, I'll give you an exercise. Go and write down all the things you can do. You know the word I can, just complete that statement. I can and then complete. I can do whatever, Go and write. You discover the scripture that talks about I can do all things through Christ. It is not just a scripture for motivation. It's very real. And I did it myself. I wrote things I can do, and I got 67. 67. I can farm. I can teach in a school. I can preach. I can write books. I can do scientific discoveries. I can study things. I started writing down. I have 67, and these are not things that I'm saying that I can do them even tomorrow. I mean, they are there. So when you start following potential, you know what it does? A dilemma. You will get 100 things. So question is, what do you do out of those 100? Because a human being, because of our ability to learn, you can do anything. I play guitar, I play keyboard, all those things I do, I play them in churches, in crusades, I do them. So they are potential. There are so many. That's why you find people who are gifted, they are the most confused. And by gift, I mean everybody is gifted, yes. But those people you find like they have all things they can do, and it's so easy for them to do anything. They are very confused because a dilemma again. So there has to be a force that direct things together. So I usually say, and we'll do a gift inventory. I'll give you an assessment you're going to do for gift discovery and all that. When the gift is given, gift has no direction. And that's what I want you to take home. Potential has no direction. In metrics, there are things we call scalar quantities and vector quantities. So scalar quantities is just measurement that, just like weight, 2 kgs, I mean, it has no direction. When you talk about I'm going, you know, in a direction where 20 meters per second east or west, when I give a direction, that's now no longer a scalar quantity because it's directed to a cost. Now, a gift is a scalar, does not have any direction, meaning you can even misuse it. That's why you'll find so many gifted people, they're using their gift to kill others. Even terrorism is a use of a gift. You have a gift that you're using it in bad things, bad vices, you know, taking drugs. I can gift you in a gift of singing, but you can choose what kind of songs to sing. You can sing songs that just abuses people because the gift by itself has no direction. Haina west, east. So everybody is gifted, but has no direction. Now, until you bring purpose into the equation, that gift can be misused or abused. Now, let's look at what you can be paid for. What you can be paid for, how many things can you be paid for? I mean, so many things. I can be paid by, you know, for speaking somewhere, writing books, writing research articles, doing data analytics, doing strategy and consulting, doing human capital consultancy. I mean, there are many things. Playing guitar in a studio, I can be paid and it's paid per hour. It's going to have some money. I mean, so when you look at the things you can be paid for, again, as long as you're good at it and maybe the world needs it, people will pay for you. Now look at the fourth one, what the world needs. Now that again is another dilemma because, can I say this, the world is in need of everything because that's the reason we have 7.5 billion people, because every one of those 7.5 billion has a unique DNA to whom the whole life being of that individual is to meet something in the world. So that means we have 7.5 billion needs because every of the human being has a something that they're supposed to do for the universe. So that means what the world needs is so much out there. But can I tell you one thing? You are not called for everybody. That's why there's a niche. If you remember all the questions, there's a niche. You're not meant to address everyone's problem. Because the people again who die trying to solve the whole humanity issues. You can never carry your all in your head. It will crush you. Let everybody play their role. Remember, we said an entanglement is an ecosystem. So this your role is somebody else's role. So there are spaces where I be called to do and I tell people, no, I know I can do it, but that's not the space. I'll call you, somebody else will help you. Like for me, I don't do those, financial advisory. It's not that because I know, I understand, and sometimes I'll coach even some bit of financial success. But let me tell you, that's not my area. I will tell you, I will forward you to somebody who I know is a financial coach. I'm not a financial coach, but I understand a bit of it. So you kind of discover that you don't have to attend to all things that come to your life. I find people trying to die martyr in terms of they are so engrossed with the needs of people. You see children suffering, women being abused, men taking drugs, and you want to solve everything. You will never. Even Christ himself, sometimes we say it's only one who died for everybody, but even for that, there's a disclaimer. In fact, somebody I spoke in a workshop in Mombasa 2 weeks ago, and when I say this, someone told me, by the Gabriel, even Christ did not die for everybody. He says, for those who believe. He died for those who believe. It's quite an interesting, anyway, we could discuss that long. He was telling me, even Christ has a niche. He said, for those who do not believe, he has no business with them. But when they believe, he has died, for God so loved the world that he gave for whoever believes. So there's a whole niche in the whole of the domain of a purpose. So you don't kill yourself by trying to save the whole humanity. You are not called for everybody. So even let's say you are dealing with youth, it's not everybody youth, no. There should be a certain niche. Now let me tell you now where these things come. So what you love and you good at it, we call that passion. What you love and the world needed, you call that mission. What the world needs and you can be paid for it, you call that vocation. What you can be paid for and you're good at, you call that profession. Now, most of us started at profession and vocation, even myself. In fact, for me, I started with a profession. Why? I am very good in mathematics. You know, give me analytics, it's my swim, that's my water. I will do all those weird things. So I'm very good at math. So in fact, even before I got a job, I used to do analytics things and I'm paid. So I am good at it and I can be paid for it. So I have people when they are doing those research theses and they want to have those analytics to support their PhD, whatever. I could do that even after high school, after university, because I was very good in statistics, a bit of computer programming. So there are things I would do wizard and I kind of, people will buy. And even today, somehow I have programs for that, though I'm not necessarily the trainer now, but at least something somewhere just to pay bills. But I'm very clear in terms of where it is, in terms of where the role it plays. But then later, I started looking for what the world needs, and I can be paid for it. So started pursuing some things which are more vocation related. The one needed, like I do a bit of organic farming because the one needed, but it's because also I can be paid for those organic foods, you know, simple like that. So you might find that our life mostly starts from this roar. And it's because of what I told you last time, the need to survive, which is the Maslow hierarchy of needs. Then on the other side, of course, there are people who start sometimes on what you love and the world needed, and that becomes the mission. And there are also people who follow their passion, what they love, and they are good at it. So I'm good in singing and I love singing, and you can find yourself in the singing. Now, this is the catch. When you pursue profession, between profession and passion, so you are good at it, and it's something that you are passionate about, you always get satisfied, but you feel valueless. There is no value. You feel like there is no impact you're giving. However, you are satisfied, meaning you have a good house, you can afford to pay your bills. You know, those things are okay, but you're feeling a sense of void. And I gave a story about the lady who had worked for 27 years. She had everything, you know, houses, flats, good cars, children are off school and they are working, but she's feeling a bit of an emptiness of no value somewhere. That's the catch. It's a dilemma. Then, when you pursue passion and mission, the intersection of that, you feel delighted, but you can almost get the obvious. You feel like you are like Mother Teresa. I don't know whether it's the best example, but there's a certain Matayanic kind of a feel of I have done all this, but it's like I'm poor, you know, I have nothing of myself. So you are living so well for others, and you know, you're into other people's life, you have made them succeed and all that, but onto you, you feel like I'm even struggling to afford a meal on table or to sustain my livelihood. Yet I'm so happy that I have impacted millions out there. Again, that is also a dilemma. And I'm a believer that for me now, using a biblical principles, we are not supposed to like bruise our lives into an extent that of course there's no wealth. No, because the purpose is provided for. Provision is there. So there is also wealth inside what you do as a purpose. Otherwise, God will be very unjust God if at all he allows just to come, be bruised and all that. I believe Nelson Mandela never died a poor person. No Wangari Maathai, not at all. So we should not hide ourselves around, I'm living for other people. So that missionary experience, and me, I better die poor. I mean, that's also a heresy. It's a kind of a misconception of some ideologies. So it's when you discover principles of wealth creation, you actually turn the same purpose will be a purpose venture. And that's what I was saying, you'll not even be worried about your life. Maybe some of them will form foundations and you find your life still continue and taken care of, or businesses, you know, and all that. So then the other one is when you follow the mission and vocation. So of course, the one needed, but you can also be paid for it. You get a sense of excitement. Why? The word is needed. In fact, the word is celebrating. You go and donate things somewhere, and the word is, you know, the word is kind of appreciate, you know, thank you for giving us these. But there's a sense of complacency. So you're not moving. It's kind of things are kind of static, they're not moving. And there's a bit of kind of uncertainty. And this is where people now fear even losing jobs. When you hear there's a retrenchment, this scares you because of the sense of uncertainty. If you hear the company is implementing a new system, ERP or whatever, you are like, wait a minute, my job insecure, am I secure and all that? There's a bit of an insecurity there. And you kind of remain compressed. You're not progressing. It's like you're on a treadmill. You're busy, yes, there are things that you're doing and you feel some bit of excitement, but it's not kind of giving you a certain contentment to have confidence about tomorrow. So you're kind of in a box somewhere. Then the last one, of course, is more dangerous, where you feel you're in a comfort zone, but empty. This is also an example like I gave last time. So in a comfort zone means the normal things of life, children can afford a good school, you know, housing is okay, you can feed yourself, your family, but there's a strong sense of emptiness. And this is what takes people to depression after retirement. You discover all these wrong years. I have a village house, I have a townhouse, I have a holiday house, and I can afford to go for vacation anywhere I want, but there's emptiness. These are people who will accelerate in depression very fast because that vacuum is pushing you to start going back and asking yourself, so what am I living for? And when you start doing your balance sheet of life, you discover it's empty. You're working for yourself, actually. And when you're working for yourself, it's empty because until you attach meaning to something bigger than yourself, you'll never be fulfilled. And you discover that in life. Fulfillment comes actually from attaching value to something bigger than yourself, wider than your lifespan, meaning is legacy, bigger than your 50 years or 80 years that you're going to live, and beyond your generation. So the moment you attach value that I'm living value that can transcend, it's the only way you get fulfilled. So all these are pointers actually can give you a dilemma. So as I told you, I don't give Ikigai as a basis of a solution. No, it's an awareness tool. Myself, I kind of went through all these, you know, I think I have faced all of them. I have gone through all of these in different phases of my career. And out of almost 17 years, I found myself in different circles before I get a singularity. Now, the only thing I can say is when your purpose aligned, you always get into what you call a singularity, meaning you will see one thing that hold all these together. So not everything you love is your purpose. So the purpose sits at the center there. So if you don't find something that it's something on which you will find love somewhere in terms of passion, though I give a caution there, because most of the what you call passion is selfish. Does not necessarily mean that's your purpose. So, but I'll tell you why you can actually create passion. And I usually say passion is a product of visioning. If you struggle with passion, don't look elsewhere. Try to check your visioning side. Because a most neat view of the future that you can imagine and create, and I can see myself building a certain thing. I have a vision to build a whole academy for purpose, a purpose academy, which is like a Strathmore University, where people will be offered courses even for business and other things. But as we shall be starting with you with purpose discovery. Remember what I'm saying? People are already going to study before even they know their purpose. Now, I want to reverse that literally. And I have a vision. I will start a whole academy like a private university like Strathmore. And it's somewhere taking shape slowly, where people come up and I take teenagers, they first of all go through 1 year for purpose discovery alone. Then now they can start doing the engineering and doing their finance and economics. Because we can't keep complaining, and then you're not officially. That for me, I know it's a calling. That vision by itself, and it's one out of many others, that vision by itself, it's enough to make me wake up every day with energy. So you can generate passion. So passion is something you can literally trigger within yourself because it's hidden. But when you vision, that visioning, and you visualize it, it will make you drop off mediocrity. I will sacrifice anything for me to be able to get that? So that's the dilemma we are in terms of the Ikigai dilemma. Again, I say it's not a discovery tool. It's more of an awareness tool. It helps you start questioning, wait a minute, maybe where I am here, I think I am in vocation. I need to be conscious. When you are conscious, you're able to challenge and scan the environment to see whether there could be other opportunities you are missing out. Maybe because you need to move to the passion side and all that. But the idea at the end of the day, which is now where we are going to go into the next few minutes, is some of the pointers you can use to start discovering yourself. So I want to pause there, just have a quick reflection again, where, for example, maybe we are finding ourselves. Where do we think we are as an individual? Maybe we could share that as part of a rejoinder, just to hear from each other. Where do we feel we are as an individual? You can start with Beatrice now.
Gabriel, that's a very tough one. I'm just even thinking of how do I balance between my passion and my, my capacity. Of, not in terms of, I'm just imagining like you're talking of your passion for developing this academy. But for instance, if you don't have the capacity, the resources that you need to implement it, isn't that, the point where you get the frustration of not being able to live to your purpose, and I imagine even those people who commit suicide, for instance, they that balance, they don't achieve it. The passion to do something, or the desire to do something is it doesn't balance with the resources or the capacity that you need to have the two meeting. Yeah. So you end up getting frustrated, because maybe you stick in a job for long. You want to leave to do something different, but you don't have that alternative available for you to take up.
Good. Thank you for that. I think that one we'll handle it, especially the next session when we talk about convictions, and you'll come to believe that conviction is something that gives us strong, compelling. It gives you actually the creative potential. Now, to talk about the passion, remember the why. Remember the why. The why do you want to? Why do I want to set up that center? If the why is compelling enough, can I assure you, I am not doing it for myself. It's part of my purpose. Who gave me the purpose is God. Let me tell you, even as we speak, there are things I have already started experiencing that actually is making that reality come more faster than I think. So when you fight struggle, mostly you're trying to push an agenda that is yourself. It's me. I have ever tried to do some other businesses somewhere, and they have completely failed. But when I align to purpose, I discover, I go, I meet somebody, and I Gabriel, I have this idol rat somewhere here. I think you can make use of it, and then later you can discuss whether you can buy it. I can assure you, it falls, the dots connect together. So, but sometimes when you're trying to force something because you love it, you always find it's quite very frustrating. Because remember, it's not your purpose. It's not your thing. You are doing it on behalf of who created you. So he has the better intention. In fact, God is more interested in it than you are interested in it. God was more interested in Moses salvaging the children of Israel than the way Moses had a passion for it. So you will deal with that when you do to the convictions. You'll find it's a whole space that is very easy to be able to thrive. But you have to be very clear on why. Like when you're saying, I want to leave my job, why are you leaving? If you're not clear on the why, don't leave. Stay there first. But when you have a conviction of why, you'll find even transition. I will share my life. When I exited from, I worked last in the insurance. I was in Britain, my last employer, 2015. And when I was 16 to do my business full-time, which is now 8 years, I left with nothing. I remember I was in Maputo, Mozambique, and I had gone to do some few work we were doing for integration of Britain in 7 countries. And I was part of the project team. And when I was there, my conviction could not give me peace. And I remember when I came back, I told my wife, I have to quit. That December, actually wrote my resignation. And When my designation is not because I had a job. I was not going for a job. It's like that guy Beatrice was telling us here. I even didn't have any LPO. You know, the way unasemanga natoka mara niko na LPO. I have $1 million here. I'm going to charge, and now I left with actually no savings. You know, you say you have to save 6 months, 1 year. I'll tell you some of those things. They're just humanistic. When I left with actually no guarantee of where I'm heading to. And I was having bills to pay. Even my wife was not kind of earning, you know, we had actually a young child and all that. I left in that kind of a very weird situation. Few directors called me, asked me, Gabriel, are you crazy? But I told them, I am not following clarity, I'm following conviction. That's why I want to discuss that in the conviction. I'm not following clarity, I'm following convictions. And somehow, can I tell you, I never lacked. I was able to set up myself, started doing the things I wanted to do that time. And within a few months, actually even the following month, I was even getting some assignments, I could get some appointments, I started getting some cash flows and all that, and it sustained my life. So some of these things, if you're clear with the why, you won't struggle even with the issue of resources, because whatever God wants you to do is already provided for. In fact, God is waiting for you to transform. You know, remember the becoming, the being. When you transform your mind into another level, you attract some certain breakthroughs that you could not have attracted in the earlier version. But as long as you're in the earlier version, let's say of an employee and you're just doing this mechanically, just doing the SOPs and delivering the jobs, if you're in that state, you will not attract anything. But the moment you start getting conviction that draws you into another version of self, somehow you start seeing world differently, and the world respond back automatically. It's purely a natural principle. So it's something that I know it's not very easy, not comfortable, and I agree with you. It's quite something that have to take a leap of faith and convictions to be able to get into that. So thank you so much. Maybe Anne, any quick reflection around the Ikigai?
I think, okay, I may not be at a point where I can say where I am at as far as Ikigai is concerned, but maybe one of the really interesting things I've picked is on the issue of what you love. It can be very selfish, which is a fact. So it's nice just to be careful around that. Thanks for just mentioning that. Then on the issue of what the world needs, like as you are taking us through, I realized on the issue of uncertainties, you realize what the world needs is very dynamic. So it could be this today, and if that's what you've held on, then it changes tomorrow, then you're definitely on a very shaky ground. So I guess I see what you say about it being a dilemma. Same thing as what you're good at, because I could be good at this, but if it's not answering to a need where I am at, then the ability to be paid for it is also shaky. So I think I hear what you're saying. It's a dilemma, and it's about how you balance each of them towards, like you're saying, purpose. So quite insightful. Thanks.
Awesome, that's good. I will share with you later a slide around the difference between purpose and passion. I think it's going to give you a good direction around that. It's quite very profound, and it helps you answer that question very easily in terms of, you know, purpose, passion somehow, it's quite very selfish actually. So I think there's no better one. It's more internally generated because we also, a human being is very selfish. So you might end up kind of doing things just because it's something you have avoided in yourself you won't fulfill. In fact, there's a gentleman who was coaching many years back, and he came and told me, Gabriel, discovered I started a ministry. He was in the Christian ministry, and he started like, you know, ministry for youth. Then later he told me, I discovered why I wanted youth around me. He could hold sleepovers in house, you know, those mentorship and all that. Then when we went through, he told me, Gabriel, I've discovered actually, I was doing this selfishly. I wanted company. Now look at that. I was looking for company. The guy actually is an orphan. So what had happened is that, you know, you feel like you're in an island alone. You have no people you are related to. So what do? You start a ministry so that you have people around you. And I remember, and he's actually a pastor even as we speak anyway. So, but he was actually told me, Gabriel, I discovered why I was doing what I was doing, something I was passionate, but also inside the passion, I was trying to massage my heart because I needed company. It's like also people who will marry because they need that company. So it's not purpose. You're passionate about something, but when you question, you discover, what is the motivation here? you may discover it has nothing to do with the purpose. So it's something that is very, very, it's a catch-22 there. But that's why I'm going to tell you later how to journal some of the things that will help you kind of discover the purpose. And it's good that we start with this side where it's a dilemma. So now when you go to the other side, you'll be able to filter out the noise. There's a lot of noise you're going to get into the process. Thank you. Susan? Any comment about the Kigai?
Not really. Basically the same feelings with Anne.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Abel, Nessie?
Basically, I'm just thinking that I've been leaving a lot of profession and vocation because that's why I immediately started, because I think even normally our old times, how we entered our education, you could not do what you love. According to the cluster subjects, it was to pick you to do a course. So right now, that's why I've been living. So trying to see how I can adopt the other two, passion and vision, to be incorporated.
Yes. Awesome. All right, good. Okay.
Gabriel, maybe
yes. Yes, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I just wanted, there's something very, I mean, this statement you made that made me, sometimes I feel guilty if I'm not able to solve like all the problems that people have. Yeah, especially if you have been assigned into a responsibility or into something that, you know, you don't see things moving, or you are giving and that you can't give enough. So there's that statement you said, you know, we cannot solve all the problems in this world, which was very, I think I just want you to talk a bit more about it, because sometimes we feel even you see, like now I'm serving in a board of management of a new school, which has basically almost nothing. Yeah, we just started 2 years ago, and there's so much there are so many challenges. As much as I may want to help, I can do very little. So sometimes I feel the guilt. But so I just wanted you to talk a little bit on that part of the Ikigai.
All right, that's good. Thank you. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, sure. I think I'll go back to the design. When we talked about the design, and we say the design has intelligibility. Intelligibility is for an intent of something. You remember the flowers, the yellow, the purple, the blue, and all those things, such as an example. Those flowers are playing a specific niche, what you call the niche. There's a specific niche that they are playing. And the thing is to make sure that every flower is doing their role, and all the flowers together, they are also playing a bigger role. If I take you back to last Saturday, this how you talked about universal purpose, because the entire universe in general, in God's view, is just a one component, as in it's a little thing, as we see it as very large and complex and all that. But when you look at it from a bigger eye view, he may see it as just a one component. That's why we talk about many galaxies. So we have the universal, but then we have the human, which is the human, the purpose of a human being himself, whether you believe in God or not, that's a purpose, you have something. And then there's a purpose of a generation, where any generation at any given time, we call them time intelligence. There's a specific generation within a time, like now we're in 21st century, there's a specific things that we have to deliver during this. So Beatrice's purpose and my purpose and somebody else's purpose, we have a generational purpose, all of us combined, we need to do. And then of course, now we have the individual, which is now the specific for Beatrice, for Susan, and all that. Now, when you get that understanding, you come to discover that you cannot kill yourself by trying to do everything, because you'll be too overwhelmed, and that gives you paralysis. You won't even move. So the thing is, through a bit of a reflective exercise, which is what we are just about, I'm going to take you some few pointers. Try to get to your place first, so that you do something quite more well and with an impact. Then challenge others within you or your network, like the other people you are serving with the board, also to be also anchored on their purpose. So when you have me, you, and another person well clear around our purpose, the bigger, greater impact is going to be very easy to do. So it calls for even looking for, who do I partner with? Who are other people who could now bring their own purpose into the equation to balance the need that we have. I've been aboard in several schools, including a school that we founded in our church, which is in Nairobi, actually, for orphans and for abused children. It actually have a high school as we speak, and I'm a co-founder there. I mean, when we began, we went to Korogocho, we went to Mathare and Majengo slums. Can I tell you, when we used to go to missions there, that's back in 2003, 2004, when I was still actually in campus. I can assure you the need was so grave. You go to the slum like Greek, unaona na mdomo. You wonder how they start. Hawa watoto wako na njaa. Hawa watoto hawaendi shule. You reach down the needs, wako na magonjwa. I mean, how do you handle all those things? And you don't want to take a child, you give them the education, but they are sick. Let me tell you, it was a dilemma. It was a huge issue. I went through that, and I'm still an advisory board member in that. Now at least it has a high school, at least well resourced, after many years, more than 15 years now. The thing is, we actually chose that time, we are going to only do feeding program. So our ambition was a school. We never started with a school first. We went to Majengo, we mobilized wa Minarayan, Tembawa, Hidwa, Kokerenyaga, Hakuna Mwenye Sijui, the Patels, the Bimji and all that. I know all of them. We used to go there to beg food from the Asians. So you get food, cooked food, rice and all that, and we go and do feeding program. Our goal was, because it's a church, we wanted just to reach out to them and, teach them biblical, start Bible studies and all that. So it only came to be now institutionalized, like almost 3 or 4 years down the line. We said, okay, hawaendi shule, Kibaki ametangaza free education, but still they're not going because they don't have food. So we brought the food now in the church. Then we told them, sasa tutawaletea food huko slum, let a food church. So we went through specific niche by niche by niche at a given time. At least now I can say, yes, now we can offer education, feeding and all that together, and even health a bit and all that. But that did not just happen overnight. We had to actually mobilize other people who had their own, connections elsewhere, connection in the health space, to bring their purpose into the equation for it to be complete. Because we talk about the ecosystem, we build the ecosystem a period of time. So that's the way I can export. So it's very contextual, but you can see it's not a very easy thing. Hi, Susan. All right, good. Have I left anybody out to share their feedback? Susan, I hope that helped.
Yes, of course.
All right. Okay, thank you. Essie, do you want to say something about the Ikigai? All right. I think Essie is not there. So quickly, because I've already mentioned that bit of passion, and I know the part that you're going to struggle most, if you ask me, there are two mainly: potential and passion. Those I can tell you'll struggle. Because as I said, passion, you need to validate it, because it may not be necessarily be purposeful. But on the potential, you have a capacity to do so many things. What you call potential, you can do so many things. So you get into a dilemma again. Now, I promise about the difference between the passion and the purpose. You can see the screen there. Now, passion is mostly self-authored. It comes from you. Purpose is assigned by an external agent. That's why, of course, that can be God, the creator. Number two, passion is self-centered to feed the selfish interest most of the times. Somehow, you find even when you're doing charitable work, there's like a quench. You even find people, that's why people will go and you feed someone, then you go and post in the social media.
Sorry, Gabriel, I think there's something. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Anne.
Sorry, I was asking Gabriel whether we should be having something on the screen because it's blank, yes. At least on my.
Oh. Same here. I was also wondering whether it's me.
Okay. Sorry. Let me project again. Sorry for that. Tell me when you can see it now.
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you for the alert. Good. So this just shows you the paradox of the two, and it explains it in brief. You can see 11 differences. So and this is just sample. There are so many others. But we are not saying that you don't need passion in pursuing of purpose. No. We only need to be very careful to validate whether you're driven by passion or purpose. Now, as I said, the first one is passion is self-authored, but purpose is given by somebody else. So one comes from within, the other one comes from external. Number two, passion is more self-centered, as I say. Over 80% of passion, you may discover it's more about yourself. Even when you're doing charitable work, as I was trying to explain, people actually who go and help orphans, but when you look at them, they are busy posting in the social media. It's like the fire for doing it is more of to edify themselves. I want to be seen or supporting. I build a house for a poor family. I mean, yes, you have done a good thing, and you say you are passionate, but the overall intent you may find, I want to appease myself, and that's just the way like Asians want to appease, because they know when you give something, God is happy and something like that. So at the end of the day, it's a personal self-interest. But purpose is actually to impact something, to impact generation and planets and all that. Now, passion keeps changing. This is one of the biggest issues. It's short-lived. If I ask Beatrice what she loved 10 years ago, I'm sure she'll tell me a different view on what she loves today. Now, when you build your life around passion, let me tell you, you'll keep shifting goalposts. Ushakutana na mtu leo anakuambia I'm passionate about you. Tomorrow or next year, I'm passionate about orphans. The other day, I'm passionate about women. Because passion keeps changing. Now, if you form your career on passion, you keep shifting. Utapata unatoka hapa unaenda pale, unaanzisha leo unauza nguo, kesho unauza mandizi. You keep on hopping all around. Because passion is an energy. And energy keeps changing forms. So you keep then following the energy, and therefore you keep changing. And you make very serious, crazy investments that will be a waste. But purpose is a lifetime assignment. This doesn't change, has no retirement. It can change the form, the version, but the core remains. And that's a better assurance. Now, the other one, the passion is fueled by a sense of motivation. Motivation, strong burning sensation of motivation. But purpose is a sense of obedience. Because remember, you are not the one who gives yourself. You are obeying. Moses said to obey. David had to obey. Something that you're acting as an act of obedience. That's why you need convictions, so that you follow that obedience. Passion makes you compete with others. Purpose makes you collaborate. Let me tell you, if you want to know where somebody is purpose-led, look at how they handle competition. Unataka kukaa wewe peke yako, hata utaki kushare na, it's like I want to, that capitalistic thing. It's me and me and me. And therefore, when somebody comes into the equation, you feel threatened. In purpose journey, let me tell you, in fact, when I see Susan, I'm looking for how can I collaborate with Susan? Because like now I told you, I want to set up a whole purpose ecosystem, purpose academy, purpose coaching federation. We have so many things in the pipeline, and they are all of them somewhere in they're already somewhere. They're not just like ideas, they're already somewhere in the pipeline. Because of that, I'm busy looking for who to collaborate with. Because it's so big, I need other people to come and help me build it. It's not that easy. So I don't see people as competition. I'll see them as possible collaborators. Passion, you fear losing it. You hold it. You're insecure. For purpose, there is no fear because you're not even the owner. You are obeying someone's instruction. If I send you somewhere in a country as an ambassador, you're an ambassador of Kenya in France, you only are just who sent you. You can't fear because, I mean, the owner, unless the owner recalls you, and that's death then. Unless the owner recalls you, you're still an ambassador in France. So you only need to obey. That's simple. Passion has a lot of doing things. I want to help people. Want to do. Purpose mostly will be challenging you on who you are becoming. It's completely very different. Because when you become, you actually influence differently. And that's the whole game changer. It's a mindset shift. Purpose is short-lived, a passion is short-lived. Purpose is more lifetime and has more transformational impact over life. Passion leaves you empty if you fail. Now, if you look at when you do this and they fail and you get frustrated, you tell whether it was passion or was purpose. If it was something you're doing out of passion and you fail, you feel empty. Those regrets. When you're pursuing purpose, even if you fail, there's always a strong longing of a debt. Ni kama deni, you know the way uko na deni na hujalipa. So you don't feel like empty, you feel indebted. I owe, I owe. But the other part for passion, you feel like I'm losing, empty. So I lost a lot of money, and that kind of the conversation. I invested a lot of money here. But for purpose actually leaves you with a sense of indebtedness to what actually to do it much more. So passion creates comfort when you achieve. Now look at that also paradigm. So when you achieve, you feel like, nimefika, so I'm comfortable. And therefore, you get into complacency. So you kind of settle, and therefore you kind of settle. Sorry, I'm seeing a post. And you can't see this, right?
Yeah, it's just showing that Gabriel has started the screen and it's not showing. I think maybe it's a problem on my side, so you can just share the slide once we are done.
Okay. And the rest, anybody else? Are you seeing the same thing?
No. I can see clearly.
Okay. It's okay.
Yeah, maybe it's the network.
Yeah, most likely. That's okay. That's
yeah.
fine. So number 10
maybe
is
she can leave and rejoin.
Not a problem. I will share even a screenshot of this. Not a problem.
Okay.
Don't worry. You'll access all these later. No problem. Yeah. So number 10, I was saying passion gives you a sense of comfort after literal achievement. Unapata mtu alikuwa na passion mingi, ukiachieve tu kitu kadogo, comfortable. It's like ni kama umefika. But purpose, because it's a lifetime theme, it creates more debt. When I achieve 2 people, I've transformed 2 people, it leaves me with a debt of, wait a minute, I still have 1,000 more. I mean, there's still a whole horizon ahead of you. Now, the last one is passion utilizes only part of your gift, few parts of your gift. Now, remember the story I gave you that you are already you are created by a designer for a certain cause. That means even the spiritual gifts or the capability, the talents you have are supposed to be mobilized only on the cause. So when you go to the purpose, you discover, you utilize almost the whole of yourself, or in terms of the gifting. I'll send you a link to do a self-assessment of the gift. Then you evaluate in your work, you start evaluating what percentage of my gift am I using in what I'm doing today. You'll discover if you are not purpose aligned, maybe you're only using one thing. Like when my stage of employment, I was only using my mathematical background, literally. And it was important, yes, but I found myself only using the analytical part of me. That is what I was using more. But I have gift of knowledge, I have a gift of wisdom, I have gift of faith, I have gift of giving. They were very little in terms of my engagement. So when you're in purpose, you find it's the singularity of life. Everything, even then, you'll come to discover in the way your eyes are the way they are, the way your ears are the way they are, the way your, all those things, the way your physical body is the way it is, it's fully expedited only on the purpose. So you find many of us are underutilized generally. Because maybe you are following passion, you find only a few parts of it. Because what you study, for example, is just a little component of your life. It should just be an enabler. But only when you get into purpose, you discover everything about your potential, all the capabilities, they're in one box now. And that's why you're able to make more impact. But when you're divided, actually the word of God tells us, when you have a divided attention, I think it's the book of James. If you have a divided attention, the Bible actually almost classifies you. That's like, you have a fool or a failure, it's dangerous. So when you're kind of only doing like part timing, what you call side hustles. It's like you are finding a kitu ka side hustle. So part of your gift are here, other gifts are here, other gifts are here. They don't have one unified singularity. You get to waste a lot of time, a lot of effort, but your attention is divided. Your whole of self is not invested, and you therefore don't get impact. So that's a whole paradox between passion and purpose. But remember, I said you need passion, but passion should be generated from visioning. So the moment you anchor on purpose and then you start doing proper vision, and you're going to do that later, when you're doing the visioning side, it's a fuel. If you remember the fueling, after finding your purpose, there's the fueling. The passion, which is an energy, you generate it through that visioning, and that fuels and powers the implementation of your purpose. So lastly, is now just talk about some pointers, and that will be our last part of the session. Some few pointers. Now, I'm going to give you the pointers, but you're going to discuss them next Saturday. And this will be now going to be part of your takeaway reflective exercises. Now, I have some few pointers, and they are not exhaustive. And I'll give a caution that why struggle looking for purpose, yet we are saying God is the one who gave you purpose, and therefore you just need to go have a meeting with him. Wende tuka mkutano na akupe big bang, pap, hiyo hapa elenda run nayo, God works on preparation. That's the way I come to discover. If there's something that God does, is preparation. He literally makes sure at least you get ready. Your delay for purpose is mostly because of the preparation side. And there you have a responsibility. That's not God's responsibility. That vessel preparation is nothing to do with God himself, because God anagoje you prepare so that until he unleash. But until you are ready, you are going to mishandle. You are going to mismanage. So he has to allow you to go through your journey so that you get ready to prepare. So Moses had to be in the wilderness to witness Egyptians who are torturing the Israel, and Akasirika, and Anaua, he killed an Egyptian, and that was still a preparation. David in the wilderness, shepherding, he had to shepherd Kodor, but it was an imagery that you'll be going to be a king, and he had to kill the lion and the bear, which was a symbolic of the conquest he had to make now later when he's killing Goliath. So the preparation part is what makes this journey then worth. And don't rush it. You better take time to prepare, even if it's a you say, this year I'm going just to discover a whole year to make sure I'm very clear with my convictions. You'll find after that, the implementation part will be so accelerated like gravity. It flows. In fact, to a speed you may not even handle, because God is just waiting for that preparation. That's why go through this process, and God is the author. Go to God and you tell you, yes, you'll do that. And he has the potential, but he allows us to use experience, pain, even sometimes you lose things for you to get into the course. So that now when you get into the course, you become like Paul. Paul had to go through his own life. But now when you got the persuasion, Paul was the most passionate person to pursue his course. Now, where I'm going to start is where we are going to begin also next Saturday. Convictions. I won't explain here, so allow me just to go fast. I won't explain. I have a whole lesson around convictions, which we'll do it next Saturday. But if there's one thing I have found very profound in terms of purpose, is unaiding convictions and persuasions that are so burning inside you, and they activate you for action. Now, I will give a disclaimer. Not all convictions are good convictions, because you tell me when the conviction with the person doing terrorism and committing suicide, they have a conviction. So I'm not talking about all convictions. There's specific convictions for good, to change, to transform, and to make our world better and other people's life better. But it's so unaided. And it doesn't have just to be for people. It may be even for spaces. I think it's one of the cohort in February. One lady was telling me, Gabriel, I get so, it's called what? Nostalgic in disorder. Disorder means whenever she goes into a meeting and people are disorderly, you didn't prepare, you didn't set agendas before, you don't organize things, and you kind of feel agitated. And she has a conviction around things should be orderly. It looks so simple. But on top of just that strong belief that things should be orderly, things should be organized, she was actually able to create a whole purpose framework around even a consultancy. She just fixed where there is mess. Anaenda kanisa anapata hakuna structures and nothing, she fixed that because she has a conviction things should be done in a certain way. There's an order, but the way she has also found it in a biblical way. I'll talk about it because it's also very dangerous. You can have convictions that are persuasions that are also not right. And I'll tell you why when we talk about how you build your convictions. There are 3 areas in which you can validate that. So that's where you go. You can go to a hotel, you are served. Ukiserviwa unasikia, huyu mtu ameserve aje. It's a mess, service is poor. Maybe there's something inside you that is reacting because you are the solution, that's why you are reacting. In fact, Unaona mtu mwingine amesaviwa chakula na yeye ha complain. Kwa nini wewe una complain? You know why? Because the version of you cannot help than to react where you need to offer the solution. So after sometimes when I watch news, there's also a pastor who, whenever she watch news, she's already. And for all the stories are, let's say, abortion, vitu kama za hizi mambo ya LGTB, you know, those things that are very anti-life. Whenever I on a news heavy, she can actually even knock that screen immediately. Why? And I feel already agitated. That's activation. She feels so activated. Wait a minute. You cannot kill babies when they are not born. And because she believes life starts from conception, she believes the sanctity of life. That's a conviction issue. It may have a belief, but it's coming from somewhere. And we're going to talk about that next time. So some of these convictions, if you look at all the people who have done great things, there's a conviction they were studying for, even like in our Wangari Maathai, around the vegetation, around the forest, that we're endangering ourselves. And that belief was so strong that it activates you. So not every conviction activates you. Until a conviction leaves you uncomfortable. That's why resigning will not be a big issue. If you're struggling to resign, check your convictions. If you're struggling to start a business, check your convictions. Because convictions will always activate. And sometimes you can act in a way that looks like it's not making sense. It's all with all the odds around it, it doesn't make sense. That's a power of conviction. And we're going to talk about that. I'm going to spend more time there next time because actually the core foundation. But then there are other things. There are things we call horrid discontent and positive anger. And I want you to take a journal, if you bought a journal, and I want you to start every page, one page, write your convictions. The second page, I want you to write your horrid discontent. And I want you to journal your life, meaning check at your interactions on a daily basis. You're in an employment, look at the things that gives you a bit of a horrid. Horrid anger is a horrid discontent where you feel, no, it could have been done better. Na unasikia na uko ndani kama unachomwa, but it's something that you feel discontented. You feel unhappy kinda. Somehow, they are usually pointers towards a solution. You should actually be the one providing. And let me tell you, like one of my, I almost now start disclosing some of my inner things. I personally are discontented by stagnation. And I will call it lack of growth, stunted growth. You know those two businesses, unapata mtu alianza ka kiosk ushago, na bado hata saa hii 20 years now you are an adult, bado ka kiosk kako hapo. Now, okay, it manage their life and they're able to sustain their livelihood. But it's the same way, uliacha wakati ulikuwa mdogo hapo ushago, bado kalikuwa hapo. Aka move. Somebody started a kiosk, is still a kiosk, has never evolved. Somebody is doing some work, you're employed, you are a supervisor, you're a manager, uko tu hapo. 10 years, 5 years, 7 years. Let me tell you, that gives me nausea. And it's not me. Looking at somebody who is not moving, it gives me a horrid discontent. To an extent, it's like I want to pierce you. And I mean, why are you the same level? Why is because, let me tell you why that confusion. Why I am angered by stunted, growth is because I believe in growth. It's a conviction that anything born must grow. So those two tie together. So when I don't see the growth, honestly speaking, I am nausea. I will get nausea completely. And why am I doing that? I know I'm a growth catalyst, literally. The place I'll go, Nitachokora, there's a guy I used to work with who, not work with, but used to fellowship in church. We had, was selling some spare parts in Kirinyaga Roduko Nyamakema na huko. Alikuwa na kiosk kaku. Used to get things and then anauza spare parts, crunches and all that. And I met just few years of interaction with him in the church. That guy today owns one of the largest go down in Kirinyaga Road. In Kenya, he now surprised Kenya, Uganda, and all that. I remember I was mad when I go to his shop and he started the same, a shop looked like, I don't know, 5 feet. So like a 5 feet and all that. And he was doing well. He could manage his family affairs and all that. But me, the same year, the next year, the same, the third year, the same. And I started having conversations and I challenged him. No. Uganda is waiting for you. Tanzania is waiting for you. So I hate when I see people just focus on something and they are good at it and they are doing the right thing, but they're not growing. Because I usually say growth is helping you sustain impact in the future. Because if you don't grow, you are denying other people who could be benefiting from you, and they will be dying because of you are not growing. So the other page, the third page, write what gives you an explainable fulfillment. Now, what do you mean by fulfillment? Have you ever done something? I don't want you to, don't trivialize experiences. As little as organizing a women forum in the church, and that evening you go home and you're telling God, God, hata kama maisha yangu naweza unaichukua saa hii na feel ni kama niko sawa. I have done something. I want you to take a moment and journal your life over the last 5 years, 10 years, whatever period you can remember. Are there times you went home and you felt like, God, this I feel so overjoyed? It is not just an excitement. Excitement is just a simple thing. And deep fulfillment, almost thinking like your life can even come to an end and you're okay. At that moment, you feel like I am in top of things. I have done something. I have impacted, and I feel so joyful. And God, you can even take me now. That time you're not even thinking about your children. Who are you leaving your children with? There are some situations where you feel like you're in heaven, and like you don't care about even who is around you. You know, such things will always. Now, what you do now, you question, start questioning. Why am I feeling that way? What is it that make me feel that it's like, even if God take my life now, I'm okay? If you start now peeling the onion, you become an onion, you peel the first layer, second layer. At the heart of that unexplainable fulfillment, you'll find it's a pointer towards your purpose. So you may have organized a conference for women. The issue is not the joy of that the conference took place. Maybe because there's somebody who stood there and said, you know, I was just about to give up on life. I was about to commit suicide. And when I was going through this conference, I have discovered, and you know, it could be something as more than inside the entire conference you organize. So don't use a generic way of saying it's because I organized a conference, it's because something was successful. No, no, no. Try to peel the onion. What inside, whatever you did, cost you or stirred that fulfillment. You realize it's a pointer towards your purpose. And it may not even be that event that you organize. No, it could just be something that happened inside, a dot inside, that actually connected everything together. Number 4 is what we call meditational reality. We have a gift to be able to imagine and to create reality in future. And especially for those who are believers, this should be a natural thing for you. When you practice meditation, there are things that God reveals to you. And God still speaks even today. And when you're present, you are calm in your mind and you don't have to have slept. It's not necessarily, I'm not talking about dreams per se. There are some things when you're in a quiet time like this, you kind of get a picture of a revelation. Sometimes you call them revelations. You get a picture of a revelation of, I'm seeing a world where there's no abuse. I'm seeing a world where people are economically empowered. I'm seeing a world where young people are not committing suicide. You know, it's a certain meditated reality that is praying and it keeps coming to your mind. And maybe the reason why it connects with the first one, the convictions, also the persuasions. So journal those. Most of the times, God reveals to you some bits and pieces of your purpose, but in piece and pieces. Today we reflect you an image in a movie to a trailer. They are like trailers. Unapata ka trailer hapa, ka trailer hapo. If you were keen to journal, you'll find all of them is shaping something. And it's something that I've tested in my life. We are going to discuss further next time. Spiritual endowment. Now, I gave a warning that gifts are not direction. I think I will not repeat that. But you'll find, if you question, why have you given me this gift? The why. You'll find the gift should have a certain validation. When I do my spiritual gift, and I will send you a link which you are going to, for a very simple assessment, and there are so many you can do online. I always discover I have 4 gifts. Top 5, but I always focus on the 4 out of like 13, 14. And those 4 gifts, I directly use them in full blend. My first gift is always the gift of wisdom. I have a gift of knowledge. I have a gift of faith. And the last one is the gift of giving. I can give literally with no string attached completely. In fact, I have very loose attachment to things. If I feel something, this can help you, take it, even if I know I probably needed it. So I have 4, and it's natural. But how do I use this? There's no way I can do coaching without wisdom. No way. Because you are dealing with different people with different background, context, so many situations that are very complex. So you require wisdom even to know how to guide somebody. So it is useful in what I do. There's no way I can do strategy now on the corporate space. I do strategy, those consultancy work. I need knowledge. How do I go and start in a board? I sit in a board meeting talking about a bank or a motor company, and I'm guiding them on what to do in their business, and I don't have knowledge. No way, I can't do that. So my gift is directly involved in what I do on a day-to-day basis. I need faith, because even for myself, I have to take another step of faith to initiate the things that I do. It's because I'm apostolic. Apostolic means I can birth things. I already have given you one piece, and you pray with me. I will start, and we are in the process. We've already registered. We're in the process of securing some land somewhere. Hopefully next year we're going to get a land, 10 acres, to build a purpose whole academy. Let me tell you, I need faith. For me to fulfill my purpose, God had to put a gift of faith in me. And it's true, there are things I believe that they look weird. And maybe I'll share these later in our conversation. There's a property we bought with my wife in 2014. And I'll give this story later, but I don't have that time right now. It's a property I went to negotiate with the seller. And I didn't have money. I had 5,000 in my account, 5,000 shares, 2014. And I went to this person. I had bought another property there before, so I was buying a second one. Then akaniambia, yeah, I'm selling it at 4 million. It's somewhere around Remuru Road. So I said, okay, yeah, I think I'll buy. I'll buy. I have 5,000 in the account. It's a long story there, and I'll go, when I share that, I know it's going to inspire many of us. Within 2 weeks, 2 weeks on record, I had accessed 2 million shares. 2 million shares from a source divinely. And remember that time now I'm not employed, so I can't take a loan to use your salary to take. No, not at all. Within 2 weeks, I was able to raise 2 million and pay a down payment for that property. By faith, if that evening I came home with a title deed. How the mother gave me the title deed, I even don't explain it today. It was a weird situation. I already now have the title in my name. And when I give that story, for me, it's a real evidence of the gift of faith. I don't need money to do what I want to do. I only need a gift, which is the faith. And I can believe on a cause and it will happen. The fourth one is gift of giving. For me to do what I do, honestly speaking, I have to give myself. There is thing that yesterday I was speaking in a whole, forum for free. I don't even ask for fuel. Don't even give me fuel. I'll fuel my car and I'll go there and I'll speak. I have to give. I'll give my time. I'll give resources. I'll give my commitment. But there's a way God also has a way in which he sustains everything else out of that. So you can see all my gifts are all being used concurrently in the purpose I'm doing, which is transforming mindsets. There is no other place I've ever worked where all my gifts were all useful at the same time. I won't find I'm only using one, the others are not used, they are idle. So I want you to take a journal. This one I'll give you an assessment to do. You're going to assess yourself and gifts, and I would like us to come later and share next Saturday our personal inventory from there. Then lessons you learn from pain. Now, I made a comment last Saturday and I said, pain is inevitable, but suffering is a choice. When I say that, people say, Gabriel, what are you saying? And it's not a very comfortable reality. So pain is inevitable. You can't choose not to go through pain. You'll go through it. But to suffer because of the pain, my friend, you have chosen to suffer. When I talk about this, it looks very controversial. But people say, I think you are not human. People are suffering. They are poor in the slums. They are, you know, they are orphans. They are abused. They are pain. Everybody, even for me, even at the same, even 9 now, there are pains I'll go through. But if I will suffer because of that pain, there's a decision I've made. Now, what I want you to check is, in your life, check the moments where you have gone through pain. Lost things, lost money, lost relationships, you are conned, you are stolen, you are beaten, even, you know, whatever it is, even separation and divorce. You know, look at your life in general, but don't focus on the pain. Ask yourself, out of this pain, what is it making me to become? Maybe God is trying to bring, toleration, humility, whatever it is. Focus on what you're becoming because of the pain. That gives you a lesson or a learning. And if you journal, those learnings mostly, God is preparing you. Remember, talk about preparation. Is preparing you for a higher responsibility. One day I was auctioned, and I am never embarrassed to talk about it. When I was doing some business as a side hustle, I had a hotel in town in 2009. And I got into a loan from a SACCO. I took a SACCO loan. I bought a certain hotel around Jivaji, the current Red Robin there. Used to call it Tony's that time. 2009 in Moya Avenue near next to Jivaji. That was my hotel. 24 hours. Used to have night and day, whatever. But I was very young. I was still employed working in the bank. Very ambitious. In fact, I told God I want to retire. I wanted to retire in 2010, 12 years ago. You know, I was very ambitious in business. So I bought this hotel, but it put me into a mess. I got into a crazy mess. That time I also started Inquest, the company that I still consult under, and I had an office in Gara. Because of the obligation I had, I'm running a hotel here, and then we got into a debt in terms of KPLC, millions of money they were demanding from me because the person I bought the hotel from, he never disclosed he had arrears with KPLC, which was almost 80 million. KRA also came and they told me, because you bought a business, there are some unpaid tax, which was also coming almost another 7 million. I was taken to court. Let me tell you, when you see what you call baptism in fire, ask me. When you see me coaching and even mentoring business people, sometimes I do works for business. I have read my own lesson. I have bills almost 15 million. I have a court demand. And I am a young guy. 2009, I was still a very young youth guy, not married, very young. And I'm getting 15 million demand from the court, government wanting to claim things because I bought a business without due diligence. Then I'm starting my Inquest company, 2010 when it was registered. I had an office in Gara. I could not pay things. I have a SACCO loan to pay. Do you know what? I was auctioned. And I looked at my business and I told the guy, you take the things you see, computers, office, all those desk tables, take them. Because I could not pay rent. But I'm still employed. I was still employed. So, but I went through pain, let me tell you. But today, I have the authority to speak to business foundations. I'm invited to speak there. Why? I know the story. I know what it takes to run a business. And I know the pain you can go through of losing. It humbled me to an extent. I'm never extravagant anymore. I'm very cautious about spending, how I spend my money, resources. I don't invest on things that are very extravagant. I calculate my moves, but I also use that pain because I learned a lesson. Like now, if I'm to buy a business, I would advise you have to do proper due diligence. And I know the process now. It was a life lesson I would never learn in a school. You can never do a master's in learning that experience. That pain for me was preparing me to cushion other people, to water other people who are likely to go through the same experience. So today when I talk about it, I am a cushion for those people. I will tell you, I know your pain. I have gone through it. I have lost. It's not even one. That's just one example I've shared. I have gone through a lot of pain in my journey, but those pain is why I am doing what I'm doing today. And I have now more stronger vehicle and fabric to even carry people who are even going through very worst situations in life. They don't scare me because I have my own share and I'm able to empathize with them. So what I want you to do kindly, in your journal, have 6 pages. There are some of these which you not get a lot of information. Maybe you're not trying to recall. Even if you don't do, no, you don't have to fill all the 6 pages. No. Fill where you find some of you may have more pages to write on the pain. Others may have more to write on the number 4, meditation realities. Others may have more to write on convictions. Everybody will have different variations, and it's because we are anchored differently. In fact, there are some you may find nothing to write in. No worry. You don't have to write everything, no. But just write which speaks to you, journal. Come, we're ready to share. We can even share in the course of the week on the WhatsApp. Some of these, you're going to see some very profound patterns. What I'm going to help you now is to pick patterns within what you're going to start journaling. And I can guarantee you, I have no history where you don't see a pattern later. You always see something that you take shape out of this. I will later give you some validations, but these ones are not more important. There's what you call validation. Validation is now externally. Like, how do you influence people? When people tell you, Gabriel changed my life, question them. How did I change your life? What did I do? What did change? No, question them. Then number 2 is affirmations you receive from others, but don't believe them because they can also mislead you. These are more external validation. Number 3 is environment that keeps coming to you. If you keep attracting people who are broke, maybe you have a financial solution. Don't chase them away. If anybody who calls you, they're asking you for money, there could be something that you owe them. If you only keep, there's a guy who told me he keep attracting people who are drunkards. He go to a new town, he go to Kitare, he go to Mombasa, he'll always find himself, wherever wanamzingira. There's something that is attracted there. And when you're attracted by the environment, they are looking for a solution where they're attracted to you. There's something you carry that is attractive, like the insect and the flower. You are attracting an environment which you are the solution. And then finally, try to look at the generation we are living in. What is the need there in the generation? In that generation, you have a role to play. So don't focus on this one first. This we'll discuss later. I want you to focus on only the internal side, just the internal part. Then the external part will handle it as a separate conversation. So thank you so much. I am sorry I have exceeded 12 minutes of your time, but I hope at least today has given you a bit of a feel. We are now getting to the real meat of the sessions. What I will urge you is to be careful in terms of journaling and also prayer-free reflecting. I'm sure out of this, you're going to start seeing some patterns taking shape. So any question, I would allow you to talk, all of us, maybe any question quickly or a comment as we wind up.
Gabriel, this is Esther. Thanks for the
Yes,
session. Yeah, I was asking whether you'll share the recording of the previous class and this class.
Yes, I will do. I will do.
Oh,
I will do. I'll share.
okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much. Maybe to save time, we can put comments on the WhatsApp chat. Just let me know what has struck you today, but put it on the WhatsApp so that we save time here. Kindly let's make the chat active so that we don't only chat on Saturdays. Put in the line now when it's fresh. 2 or 3 things that you take home, or things that maybe you found like you are struggling and you need to kind of think a bit more further. Let's engage that on WhatsApp. Otherwise, let me wish you impactful weekend ahead, and also the holiday ahead of us. God bless you.